Norfolk School Committee for Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. We always start the meeting with reading the mission statement. The Norfolk Public Schools offers a safe, joyful, and challenging learning environment that meets the needs of our diverse students. Through school, family, and community partnerships, we provide an education that inspires lifelong learners and cultivates caring and productive citizens of our ever-changing world. Roll call.
Jennifer Wynn.
Medora Champagne.
Jeff Curry.
Paul Cochran.
Ingrid Alerti.
Okay. First is public comment, and if there's anybody here for public comment, please step up to the microphone. Okay. Moving on, correspondence, school gift fund. Okay, we've in receipt of two gifts from Norfolk PTO. $840 for student council stipends for Freeman Kennedy, and $800 for chorus stipends for Freeman Kennedy. Is there a motion to accept the gifts?
I move to accept the gifts as stated.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. School committee chair report. Discussion of the construction and capital planning subcommittee.
So at the last meeting, we started talking about, we have several pending capital projects coming up. We have the HLA roof replacement this summer. We're also in the early stages of feasibility study for expansion at the Freeman Kennedy, and it was suggested that we consider establishing a subcommittee to consult on those projects and report back to the full committee progress or any issues or challenges that arise. We held the vote last time in terms of nominations because we didn't have a full committee. I know that Thomas Doyle, who is not here tonight, is interested in serving on that. We need 2 people for the subcommittee.
I'd be happy to do that.
Great.
So we would just need a motion for Thomas Doyle and Medora Champagne to serve on the capital planning and construction subcommittee.
I'll make a motion for Thomas Doyle and Medora Champagne to serve as on the subcommittee of the Construction and Capital Planning Subcommittee.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, tonight we have some guests from the King Philip Regional District who wanted to share information that they have been studying and looking at delaying start time for the middle and high school. So I'll help you get your presentation set up, and Paul, I'll have you introduce who's here with you tonight.
Sure. Where do you want us to be?
If you want to sit here to scroll through, I've got it set for you.
Scrolling for me, or do you want to do it? I would be happy to do the scrolling. The technical decisions here. Oh my goodness. I do appreciate the nice high chair, though. If someone wants to give me a leg up, wow, I need a little step stool. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for having us this evening. Some of you I've had an opportunity to meet, and some of you I have not. But I'm Paul Zinni. I'm the new superintendent for the King Philip Regional School District. And before I introduce my colleagues here tonight and what we're here to talk about, I do want to just take a moment to thank everybody. I'm finishing up my first year in King Philip, and I have to say that I have been so warmly welcomed, and I can't thank everybody enough for that. And specifically, Norfolk has been incredibly welcoming to me and to King Philip. All of the superintendents have been great to work with this year, but Ingrid has certainly been a mentor all year long and has been there anytime that we have been in need. And so I want to make sure that I let all of you know what a wonderful colleague Ingrid has been this year and how much help she has been. And also, Paul and Jeff have served on the KP school committee for us, and again, the same have been just welcoming, and I so appreciate all that you've done this year. With that said, I will share with you what the primary reason we're here this evening, and that is to talk a little bit about school start time. And so as I came on board last year, there was a bit of attention being paid to the idea of start time and what time our students should be arriving to school. And we're here this evening to share with you the results of a year's worth of study that we've done. We're not necessarily asking the Norfolk School Committee to make a final decision this evening, but to share with you what we're doing and what our next steps are and then so that you're informed about that, and then to perhaps ask for your support as we move into the next phase of investigation. And so with me this evening is Julie Kinney and Jill Lawrence and Pat Francomano. These are three people from the community who have had a vested interest in this topic and have been working with myself and many other committee members all year to look at this important topic. And so with that said, I think I am responsible for doing the next steps on the committee, and I think, Jill, you're going to be doing the actual presentation.
So you're going to need to speak to the mic just so that Cable can
Thank
hear
you.
our handouts.
So,
Thank you. Wow.
is it okay if I?
No, I've probably seen it, yes, thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Hi.
The only time I can look over people, this is very exciting.
Okay, so I don't have to do the introduction because Paul just did that, but I am Julie Kinney. I'm a Plainville parent. I have two sons in the KP system. One is entering 9th grade in the fall, and one is entering 11th grade in the fall. So this is the presentation that we gave to the KP School Committee on May 6th. And basically, just to give you a little bit of background, this is a movement that sort of started in the late 90s. Research into the topic of adolescent sleep and school start time started coming out in the early to mid 90s, and places like Minneapolis and St. Paul were some of the first ones to make the change due to, to be more in line with the biology of adolescence. And then there was sort of a smattering of districts across the country that followed suit, slowly trickled, into this realm in the early 2000s. And then in very recent years, it's really been much more of a movement. Many more people are kind of many more districts are jumping on board. So why does it matter? So basically, around as early as age 11, when children's bodies start to change, go through puberty, the sleep hormone melatonin is manufactured later in the day, leading to the circadian rhythm shift by a minimum of 2 hours, making it so that these students really can't fall asleep much before 11 p.m., and for many it's much later. So we have a short, powerful video featuring a number of experts in the field that we're going to share with you before we go on. So that'll be next. One more. If there's ever a blank, just click again. The video's not before you. Well, I'll move on. We do have some great quotes at the end from some of these experts, and maybe at the end I can hook up my laptop and we'll see if that works. But basically, there are a number of detrimental impacts when students don't get the 8.5 to 10 hours of sleep that their bodies require. And you can see them here. They range from poor academic performance to increased depression and anxiety, weakened immune system. You can click one more time. There's a few more on this. Insulin resistance and weight gain, increased eating disorders, more car accidents, more sports injuries. But on the flip side, when students do get the sleep they need, lots of good happens. They're safer, smarter, healthier, and more balanced emotionally. So that's okay. A wide range of organizations, health organizations, endorse later start times. These range from the CDC to the American Psychological Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and there are some educational organizations in here as well, including the MIAA Sports Medicine Committee and the National Parent-Teacher Organization. So throughout our research this past year, we really didn't find anyone saying this is a bad idea, don't do this. There's really broad consensus on the topic. So our focus was on Massachusetts, and we really tried to target schools, districts that sort of resembled ours. As you can imagine, that was pretty hard to do, but some that had, whether they were local nearby or some were regional districts, even though they weren't set up exactly like ours were. So here are the schools throughout Massachusetts that have already moved to a later start time. Some as recent, made the vote as recent as the week we were presenting, May 6th. That was Dover, Sherborne, and Wayland. So the dates are there because they haven't started it yet. Also highlighted in red is Sharon because they are in the Hawk KP, the Hawk Athletic League, which is what KP is a member of. We just wanted to highlight that. So yeah, the next one. Now these are schools that are looking into it in various stages of setting up a feasibility committee, like we have just done here at KP, and there are 4 more, as you're very aware, within the Hawk League. Franklin just voted late in the spring, Foxborough, Mansfield, Milford, all looking into it as well. So throughout our research, we talked to people about what they've seen. A lot of these are anecdotal observations. Some people did record data, but they tend not to match up, not necessarily apples to apples. So we'll share with you what people have shared with us. So in Duxbury, they saw tardiness reduced by 50%. Hingham, academic performance, MCAS, AP scores all up, attendance up. Nauset Regional, which is on the Cape, saw a 53% drop in failing grades, immediate dramatic improvements in suspensions, which were sustained, an initial increase in elementary tardiness. So Nauset did switch with elementary schools. Not all districts do this, but a few that I've highlighted here have. So for example, Sharon did not, Ashland did not. They found creative solutions. So Monomoy, they did switch with elementary. They found that elementary and high school students were both more alert. Academics on the whole for the district were up. Dismissals down for elementary, discipline referrals down 40%, nurse referrals down, especially in the afternoon. And in Sharon, they found that tardiness, like the others had reported, was down. And while a lot of students had favored the later start times, about 63% of the parents did. So obviously there were some who didn't, but they didn't find anyone complaining after they made the switch. And they switched back in 2010, so they were sort of pioneers for this area. So before we conclude, and I am hoping, I'm going to take a minute just to see if the video will work, I'll just share a few quotes by both experts in the field and administrators that we interviewed throughout our process. So Matthew Walker, PhD and Director of Sleep Medicine at UCal Berkeley, he said, sleep is the single most effective thing you can do to reset your brain and body. You'll have to do twice before it comes in. Yeah. And if it doesn't come up, just put it in there.
That's true.
Okay. Mary Karskadin, a pioneer in adolescent sleep, says schools are not solely responsible for the perfect storm of teen sleep, but they can make a huge difference by moving to a later start time. The result would be happier, healthier, more attentive, and better performing students in high school. Arnie Duncan, U.S. Secretary of Education, in 2013 said common sense to improve student achievement that too few have implemented. Let teens sleep more, start school later. And Kevin Lyons, Superintendent of Masconomet Regional School District, said, my agenda has been social emotional learning. I think the start time change will accomplish more than years of staff and community programming. Jose Libano, principal of Sharon High School. There's a cumulative effect. They get another 40 minutes of sleep 5 days a week, times 180 days a year, times multiple years. It's creating a healthier human being over time. Dr. Eric Conte, Superintendent of Burlington and President of the Mass Association of School Superintendents. We are trying to put kids first. I would say there is nothing special about the current schedule other than people are familiar with it. The last one. So Tom Conrad, Superintendent of Nauset Regional School District, said, this is my 41st year in education. I've been involved in lots of different initiatives, and I can tell you that this is, by far, the best change I've made in my career. It truly has made a difference in the learning environment for students, their ability to be at their highest levels of participation, and the grades that they're receiving. So that's it. This is the presentation we gave to the KP School Committee. I will take less than a minute to see if this works, and if it doesn't, then I'll be sad. It's a very powerful video, but
it's only about 5 minutes.
I'm sure a lot of these are just, will we just be able to pull
do you think is
from one to the next?
well, there might be.
Julie and I took a ride down to Nauset in April and met one-on-one, met personally with Tom Conrad. He's the longtime superintendent, and before that he was principal of Nauset High School. And he gave us an hour or more, an hour and a half of his time, and he cannot say enough good things about this for for the adolescents, not, elementary's different, but for these older kids and their need to sleep later in the morning and that, that they're not getting the sleep they need in this current schedule. So he was very powerful to listen to.
So hopefully as Jill's able to transition, maybe get to that video. Do you have it? Okay, go ahead, and I will talk afterwards.
Fact, experts say teens need 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night. Fact, their circadian rhythms shift about 2 hours later in the day, preventing them from falling asleep before 11 p.m. Fact, 11 p.m. plus 9 hours of sleep equals an 8 a.m. wake time, which for most adolescents is optimal. The math is simple. Middle and high schools that start before 8:30 prevent most adolescents from getting the sleep they need.
Adolescent biology is in conflict with early start time.
If you go to Canada, if you go to Australia, if you go to Britain, you do not see teens having the same degree of sleep problems as you do in the States. And there's a very simple reason for that. They start school later. Period.
In April 2017, world experts convened in the nation's capital. The topic?
This whole topic of school start times is not really about school start times. It's about chronic sleep deprivation.
To me, it's a moral issue. Do we have the right to do something that is going to increase the risk of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity on an entire generation of youth? I don't think so.
Things like obesity, car accidents, academic achievement, depression, increased risk of suicide.
Driving on 2 to 3 hours of sleep less than recommended results in a level of driving impairment that by some measures is comparable to driving while intoxicated by alcohol.
When we studied adolescents who were getting 7 hours of sleep a night at 8:30 in the morning, they were down there in that desperate zone of falling asleep.
We now have multiple studies of cause and effect findings. So the short sleep causes teenagers to be mentally slower, less able to learn, especially when they're chatting, less able to juggle multiple bits of information at once.
And for teenagers themselves that know, are crystal clear, that they know that when they get an inadequate amount of sleep, they're not able to do their best in school.
We have to stop talking about it as a transportation issue. It is not a transportation issue. It is a student health issue.
In what plan would we do this to our children?
This problem was created by adults and should be solved by adults.
We're moving from asking, should we do it, to how do we do it?
Every obstacle that you run into can be overcome. Their whole motto was, if it's good for kids, we're going to do it.
The fundamental challenge is not the science, it's the politics.
The best politics are when you do the right thing for the right reason.
I'm telling you, if we can do it in Fairfax, anybody can. It was one of the most complex systems there is in the country.
Do the later start times work? The answer is yes. We have statistically significant improvement in attendance, reduced tardiness, and grades earned.
It works. Every kids came to school happier. We had more parents tell me that I got my kid back.
There's significantly less depression. There's less substance use, and there are fewer car crashes.
The bottom line, it's worth it. It takes courage, it takes determination, and it takes willpower to say the greater good is the good of the kids.
At the end of the day, to do nothing is to do harm. To do nothing is to do harm. That was just the tip of the iceberg. For the must-see, in-depth presentations on each topic by these leading experts, go to www.schoolstarttimeconference.org.
So I'd like to take this opportunity to ask if you have any questions of the committee, and then I'll share with you what our next steps are and why we came by this evening.
I do. I work at a middle school in Franklin, so I live this. And we start at my school's the earliest. We start at 7:10 in the morning. Everyone comes in, 7:10. First class starts at 7:23. So I live it and I see it. And I also recently have lived through Franklin debating this. So I have a few questions. Franklin's a little bit different because we're not regional. So what time does KP Middle School start and KP High School start?
Middle school and the high school both start at 7:35 and get out at 2:15. And currently, we share buses with Norfolk and Plainville.
For elementary.
They're elementary.
They're all elementary.
So they do our runs in the morning, our run first, and then they go and they do the elementary run.
So
The afternoon.
my question would be, if you did change it, are you looking for Norfolk to change their elementary school times because of busing? Because that was
Not looking for anything yet.
Okay.
That our next step, so I guess this is a nice transition, our next step is creating an advisory committee.
Mhm.
And so the King Philip Committee voted on that it's 2 meetings ago. And so the advisory committee will be not only a representation of the administration of King Philip and key staff involved with King Philip, but we've also asked the elementaries to be part of that conversation. And all 3 superintendents have very readily agreed to help out with that. So they'll be serving on that committee as well. And then we're looking for representation of at least a staff member and a parent from each elementary to serve on that committee as well. Because we want to make sure that before we move forward next spring, and we're hoping for next April to come forward with a proposal of, if this is happening, this is the best way to do it. And these are the pros and the cons and the hurdles that we have to overcome and the benefits and all of that. But we want to have a very complete answer by next April. But to do that, we want to make sure that all voices are heard and that we look at every aspect of this. And so that's why we're here tonight, to share with you that we've asked the elementary to work on this, because we didn't want to be talking about this next spring and find out that you had no idea that what was going on.
Well,
That's that most of the feasibility committees put forth several options, different ideas. So I don't think we have one idea in mind. That's what the feasibility committee.
But certainly one of the things we would look at is if there's a way to do that.
That's all right. First of all, thank you for coming and sharing this. The presentation was very compelling and well done. And understanding that you've got next steps and things to go through, were there anything that you discovered during this phase of the early adopting districts around the country? Why is it that they jumped on board, other than the obvious, it's better for the kids? Were there certain things that allowed them to do it more easily than others?
Well, I will be honest, when you talk about easier, it would be 1,000 times easier if we had one district, pre-K through 12, that we then were able to look at those variables without impacting 4 districts.
Were those early adopting districts like that, do you know?
Most districts are like that. Even the regionals that are up there, and there are a couple of regionals up there, still have one superintendency union type structures. So in this particular case, we have 4 school committees, we have 4 teacher unions, we have teacher assistant unions, we have all kinds of different variables that come with having 4 school districts and 3 towns. But that's not to say that those things can't be overcome if we feel that the reasons for that are compelling enough. What we have found is that there was no evidence that said that this was bad for kids. Every researcher said that the circadian rhythms, this is scientific fact, and that this is what's best for kids. Now, we know that there are a lot of other logistics around how schools are run, and all of those things are things that have to be looked at, from contracts to childcare to sports schedules, busing. All of those are factors that contribute. And as I said, it would be tricky with a single district, but because we are looking at 4 districts, it becomes more complex on that. And again, that's why we want to spend some significant time looking at all of that.
Did you find any information on how students, their level of success after high school and higher ed? Was there any increases there? Were there, kids going to higher level colleges and universities, or?
Not in our communities, but there studies. In fact, there's one that looks at the economics of it, and at each level, it says it improves. I can look it up and get it to you. It was in something like Forbes or some economic publication. But even the local economy improves, and what students make, their level of education.
That'd be great, great
There's
information.
going to be some very compelling evidence that says that when students sign up for 8 o'clock classes in college, they're the classes that they're most likely to cut. I used to commute up 24 and would have to pass Bridgewater the Bridgewater exits, and I would say that in September there was bumper-to-bumper traffic, 7:30 in the morning. By October, November, not so much. So I think there's some information out there for that.
Great.
If I could just add for a moment, going back to your original question regarding why the early adopters, what motivated them. I think that what motivated the early adopters was the information. And I think it goes back to what we saw on the screen, which was the realization that once they had the information, to do nothing was to do more. Because, as you indicated, it is so overwhelming, so compelling, that now that you know it, how do you not do something?
Right, yeah.
Any other questions? Anyone? Well, with that, I want to thank you all for your time. We really appreciate you having us here this evening. Again, I want to thank Dr. Lottie for all her support through this. She's been talking with me right along as we've been working on this project, and immediately jumped on board to assist as we move forward. And so if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're hoping to have our advisory committee complete and identified so that when we hit the new school year, we hit the ground running with those advisory meetings as well. And as I said, it's our goal to have a proposal out there by next spring.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming tonight and for sharing that.
Thanks.
And I did just want to also comment and express our appreciation to King Philip, because they've been really great partners this year. We had a situation this week. We have our 6th grade field day on Thursday, and it is now going to, that's the rain date, and it's now going to rain, and school ends Friday, so we're kind of up against it. And the parents organizing that field day were looking for an alternate site, and King Philip offered us the field house and rescheduled classes in order to accommodate that, and it was really much appreciated. The parents had already found 4 kicks, so they're going to run with 4 kicks, but we appreciate the partnership in this.
Thank you.
Well, again, it goes both ways. It's just been a great year, and so again, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up tonight, we have the SEL Review Committee presentation, so I'm going to switch over to the laptop.
Hi, Jill. Good to see you.
That's one of the text.
I had, my program was 8 a.m. To 5 every my MBA. That wasn't bad, but I wasn't a teenager, so it didn't really matter.
Okay, so as you're aware, we have a curriculum review cycle in place, and we look at every one of our core curriculum areas once every 5 to 6 years. And when we do the curriculum review, we really look at multiple different sources of data. So we typically do parent and staff surveys. We look at the current research and best practice in the field. We often, depending on the content we're studying, reach out to other high-performing communities for information on what they're doing currently or what learning they've had. And this year, we were scheduled to look at our social-emotional learning and our anti-bullying curriculum. The curriculum review team was comprised of both administrators, our school adjustment counselors, and a grade level teacher rep from every grade level, K to 6. You see the numbers? And just for definition, social and emotional learning, or it's referred to as SEL, is the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. I guess this is a research-heavy night. So there has been a tremendous amount of research that's looked at the importance of social emotional learning at all grade levels. There's been studies both nationally and internationally, and there's pretty consistent findings. So studies have been, again, conducted with diverse populations, both urban, suburban, nationally and internationally. And what the studies are finding consistently is that high-quality SEL instruction across the grade levels leads to positive gains in students' prosocial behaviors, which would be kindness and empathy, leads to significantly lower levels of conduct problems and emotional distress. It's also been consistently shown to lead to gains in academic achievement. And what's interesting is that a lot of the studies are finding that the gains in academic achievement are equivalent to when you're studying a specific academic intervention program. So high-quality social emotional learning has the same impact as students being in a targeted academic skills instruction program in terms of maintaining gains. In one particular meta-analysis study that looked at over 213 studies of school-based SEL programs, and there were over 270,000 students involved, the researchers found consistent findings that SEL programs improve academic achievement, increase prosocial behaviors, improve student attitudes towards school, and also reduce stress and depression. And the studies found about an 11% long-term gain on achievement tests for students that participated in intensive SEL instruction, and that those gains were sustained over time. The curriculum review process. So we began the process early in the fall. Our school adjustment counselors worked with me to establish and develop a survey to send out to staff and parents. The goal of the survey was to get input from the community as well as from our teaching staff on the current SEL curriculum. So currently we use the Open Circle program at all grade levels. It's a very, it's one of the, I guess, foundational SEL curriculums most commonly used throughout the district and the longest, that's been around the longest. So we put together a survey and asked for feedback on our current SEL curriculum and our bullying programs. And we used that data to identify what strengths we had as a district and where we had some needs to address. The counselors and I analyzed that survey data and then established the curriculum review team, again with teacher representatives from all grade levels and our adjustment counselors and administrators from both buildings. The curriculum review team began by taking a look at all of that data. So they looked at the survey data, the teacher survey data, the staff survey data. We also last year had done school climate surveys, and we had students do a bullying survey. So we had 450 students participate in the bullying survey, and 120 parents responded to the climate survey. So the review team looked at all the survey results. They also reviewed best practice literature. We used as our guiding document, there was a study published by Harvard University that looked at and rated the top 25 SEL programs that are currently on the market. They reviewed the literature and identified the core criteria that lead to programs' effectiveness. And then they rated each program on different dimensions. So we used that as our guiding document. We also reached out, we looked at 10 communities that have been identified as the safest communities in Massachusetts in the Commonwealth, and that's based on bullying rates, student discipline reports, DESE data from the vocal survey. We reached out to all 10 of those communities to gather data about what they currently were employing for social emotional learning and any special programs or resources that they had found effective. After all of that, we put together a SWOT, which is just a tool for organizing all that data to look at what are we finding consistently as strengths in the district, where are our weaknesses, where will we have opportunities, and are there any threats that we need to consider. So the results of the SWOT analysis, and again, this is based on all of the data we looked at, in terms of the strengths, Open Circle is a teacher-friendly program. It's well established, the materials are organized, they're easily accessible. That's not true of many programs. Many programs are new to the market. The materials are coming out and they're being revised as they're being in use. All of our current staff have been trained in Open Circle. Staff in the lower grades have already transitioned to the newest version of Open Circle. So they've made some revisions and updates to the program at the HL day using the newest edition. Most parents were familiar with the program based on survey data. 83% of parents at HL Day said they were familiar with the curriculum, 76% at Freeman Kennedy. The program provides common language, so we talk about conflict resolution, we talk about behaviors that are dangerous and destructive. We use the same language throughout. We also asked parents and teachers on the survey what were the top 5 SEL skills that they were most concerned with. And we had provided a drop-down menu and list. Open Circle strongly addresses the top 5 SEL skills that parents and teachers reported were critical for students at the K2 level. So at the younger level, parents felt certain skills were most important, and those skills shifted as students got older. It is effective at building a sense of community in the classroom and across the school. At the grades K-2, teachers are teaching Open Circle lessons twice a week, and they express a high level of comfort with teaching Open Circle because everybody has been trained and they've had it for a while. Doesn't require a high level of prep time because the materials are organized and well established. Weaknesses. Parents don't consistently report that they're regularly receiving Open Circle home links. So the program for every unit has a home letter that goes home to parents to talk about the target skills, and we're getting reports that parents are inconsistently receiving those, which means that not all teachers are sending them regularly, or some, I know for my own kids, get lost in the backpack and never make it. So, but they're not consistently. Only 34% of parents at the lower grades reported they regularly receive the home links. Open Circle also does not have a grade 6 program. It's an elementary program. It goes K to 5. It is not being taught as frequently in grades 3 to 6, once a week or bi-weekly. And part of what as we dug deeper to try to understand that, the Open Circle program does not strongly address the top 5 SEL skills that parents reported and teachers reported were most critical for older students. So things like cognitive regulation, managing attention, independent work habits, those are all more critical as kids develop, and this program does not strongly address those programs, so it's not as good a fit. It is heavily discussion-based and literature-based, but there aren't a lot of multimedia resources to reinforce the curriculum. We also, in the bullying surveys that students did, we found that the reports indicate that some students have experienced bullying at some time in their education. 10% reported cyberbullying, 14% reported other types of bullying. But the surveys also showed that students don't have a clear understanding of what bullying is. So one of the questions on the survey was asking students to define what are the components of bullying. We got a range of answers. So it was really clear that our curriculum was not strong enough in that area, that students were leaving with a clear understanding of what constitutes unkind behavior, what constitutes unsafe behavior, and what constitutes bullying. We currently use the MARC program for bullying, which is the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center lessons. They're very high quality lessons, but there are about 4 lessons per grade level, and we feel that there's not significant frequency, that kids are not retaining the content. The other feedback we had from the different surveys was that MARC and Open Circle do not fully address some of the more complex issues that older students are dealing with. So a lot of the cyberbullying, the peer and social relationships and things that change as kids get older. So what we did was then identify what the core needs in a new program would be. Based on the research literature, we know that the program that we adopt in order to be effective has to have a very structured scope and sequence of instruction. So a clear articulation of what skills are taught at what grade level and how those skills grow. It also needs explicit direct instruction of new skills with regular opportunities to practice. Teachers and staff are looking for supplementary resources available to enrich the instruction, and again, that's to give kids more opportunities to practice skills and concepts. We wanted a program that had assessment tools so that we could evaluate students' development of skills and identify when we need to reteach a concept or provide additional instruction. Both parents and teachers reported that they were looking for a program that would have a strong focus on conflict resolution and problem solving. We want a program, obviously, that extends through 6th grade, so there's some continuity in the instruction across the grades. We were looking for a program that's designed to promote strong relationships between teachers and students and supports the development of positive school culture. We were continuing to look, and again, parents were asking for a strong homeschool connection so that they can support instruction at home. They really need to know what's being discussed and what concepts are being explored in the classroom. We know that effective implementation of a new program relies on ongoing professional development and support. So we were looking for a program that offered rich opportunities for professional development. And it also has to be manageable in terms of time. We want regular frequency, but we have a lot of other content areas as well. So we were looking for something that would be between 30 to 40 minutes weekly of instruction. And also that materials are organized, well-developed, and accessible. So the next part of the review process was that we used that report from the Navigating Social Emotional Learning from the Inside Out that looked at the top 25 programs and rated them on many dimensions. And using the guidelines of what we were looking for, we identified 5 programs that fit the district goals and the criteria for effective SEL instruction. And we scheduled vendor presentations with each of those programs. And so they brought the program in, they gave an overview of the program. Teachers had opportunities to look through all the lessons and the resources. We had those available after the review. So we evaluated 5 different curriculums using a common scoring rubric. And what we determined was that Open Circle, which is currently in use throughout the district, remained the highest scoring program for the lower elementary grades, K to 2. Second Step is a different program, was unanimously identified as the highest scoring SEL learning program for grades 3 to 6. This is also the most commonly used program at the upper elementary and the middle school level in the districts that we reached out to. We also determined Second Step, unlike many of the other SEL programs, also has a supplementary anti-bullying prevention curriculum, which we looked at for all grade levels, and it was determined that that was the best program for all grade levels, K to 6, to supplement the MARC instruction. We did have teachers pilot lessons from Second Step in their classrooms, and consistently they reported back to the committee high levels of student engagement, and that the lesson materials and objectives were accessible and relatable to students. So we had a final committee meeting and prepared our recommendations to be presented to the school committee tonight. So our recommendation going forward is that the district retain Open Circle as the core SEL program for K to 2, with the understanding that we'd be transitioning to the newest edition. One of the changes to the new edition is that it has a very structured scope and sequence of instruction, and it has integrated activities to promote mindfulness for students. So we're recommending retaining that as the lower grades, and then adopting Second Step as the core SEL programs for grades 3 to 6. And that program provides direct instruction on critical skills such as cognitive regulation, empathy, emotion management, and problem solving, which were a better fit to both what parents and teachers were looking for at the upper level. We are also recommending that the district adopt Second Step as a bullying intervention prevention program to supplement the current MARC curriculum at all grade levels. The budget, I don't know why this slide is not coming out correctly, but I don't know what to do that. Sorry, this is reformatting, but the budget impact basically for Second Step bullying intervention kits, we're looking for 7 kits per grade level, is $7,903, and that's for the bullying intervention kits for K to 5. Grade 6 does not have a separate bullying intervention kit, it's integrated into their core program. Second Step classroom SEL kits for grades 3 to 5, we need 7 per grade, it's about $9,000. Grade 6 is part of the middle school program, and that's an online program, so it's a subscription for the teacher for that. We would need, the best value would be to purchase a 3-year subscription. We have 6 classrooms right now. We can add a 7th classroom next year. The cost for that is $2,993. And then a principal's toolkit, which provides culture building activities and resources for the full school, morning messages, assembly ideas, is $199. Because we're purchasing in bulk, we get a discount of $2,000 in change. What you can't see on the slide, and I'm not sure why, is that we would also like to purchase about $7,000 of children's literature to supplement the program. There's recommended titles for each grade level. And the total cost is just under $25,000. We did, because we knew we had a curriculum adoption this year, we budgeted $25,000 for that line. So we have the money available to purchase. Our next step, so tonight the school committee will consider and vote on the SEL recommendations. If you approve the program, we would go ahead and purchase the materials so that we would have them available for teachers to pick up at any time over the summer. We have already planned that our August 26th the Teacher Professional Learning Day would be dedicated to social emotional learning. We would, if we adopt the programs as proposed, the training would be provided to teachers at the Freeman Kennedy on the Second Step program, and we would do a refresher course for all of our Each Olive Day staff on the Open Circle program and the changes to the curriculum that they've made. On September 26th, we'll be doing anti-bullying training for all staff. That will include assistants, special subject teachers, all our related service providers. So there'll be general training and then additional training for teachers on how to implement the Second Step bullying intervention program. Questions?
I do.
Yeah.
So it's already budgeted for this year. How often do you see this being implemented in grades 3 through 6? How often does
30
it?
to 40 minutes a week. So teachers may do that as one lesson, or they may break it into 2 sections. But the expectation, and that's how the program is designed, to be 30 to 40 minutes weekly.
Okay. And is there opportunity, you said that people came in and did a demo lesson through the program. Would they come, is there any online support or anything? I'm just thinking.
One of the reasons we like it, it's probably, besides Open Circle, it's one of the more established programs.
Mm-hmm.
It's in use in a lot of districts in the Commonwealth, and they have a very comprehensive professional development online modules.
Okay.
So teachers can access them on
That's great.
Anytime they want.
Yep.
There's bullying prevention modules, there's classroom instruction modules, there's modules on teaching mindfulness, and they're all part of the purchase.
That's great. That was my next question. And can you tell me just a little bit more about the program and how it promotes a strong relationship between, or can I get more information on how the program promotes a strong relationship between teachers and students? So that, I know not to put you on the spot right now, like tell me exactly what curriculum.
It's part of the foundation and the philosophy of teaching and instruction. So in the Open Circle program, teachers have regular classroom meetings.
Right.
Students gather together. There's guidelines for how you facilitate that meeting, how students interact with the teacher as part of that program. Second Step is very similar. There's targeted lessons. There's lessons on active listening. There's lessons on respect. There's collaboration between teachers and students on what that should look like and how you establish your classroom rules and protocols. Second Step also has, as I said, that principals a toolkit that has suggestions for morning messages to students that teachers.
Like more global, besides just the classroom, like the school.
Yep, and we will include all of our staff in that overview training. So our special subjects, teachers, we want people using consistent language. There's ideas for climate building, for school-wide assemblies, topics to address, and things like that are all embedded in the Second Step.
It sounds very exciting. Do you think at some point there could be an opportunity for parents to come and hear about the program, like once it's a little established?
We have in the past done an Open Circle presentation for all of our parents. Typically, whenever we do a new curriculum adoption, we'll host a parent information night. So I would anticipate, although it's not changing at the H Olive Day with Open Circle, we would be hosting a parent information night on the new curriculum, the social emotional learning for the Freeman.
I had a quick question, if you're still mulling. I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly that you only received 120 parent responses to the survey that was sent out. Was that sent out to everyone?
There was a survey sent out to everybody at Freeman Kennedy, and that's about 25%, which is not bad. We send out surveys and we get a handful of responses sometimes.
No, I get it. Just
25%
trying to gauge what's your normal.
valid.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. But that was not, because we were really looking at students' perceptions of bullying, how students understood that. We were interested in the upper grade levels. So all the students took that during a technology lab class.
Okay.
So that it was anonymous and they could all give us feedback.
Okay.
So the student had probably 95% participation. Sometimes kids are sick.
Right.
But the families, it went out to just Freeman Kennedy. We have about 400 students. We have some students that are, some parents have more than one student in the school.
Right.
So 120 responses is a pretty good turnout for that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Did have a question, I forgot it.
You're allowed.
I don't know.
If you think of it after.
Okay.
So what we would need for tonight would be a motion to approve the recommendations of retaining Open Circle at the primary grades K to 2, adopting Second Step for grades 3 to 6, and the Second Step bullying intervention at grades K through 6.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion as proposed.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Save the screen of our.
Is that there?
There we go, thanks.
Okay. Giving everybody a second. to
Oh,
get
I
that person.
remembered it.
You can ask it.
So sorry.
No, it's okay.
Could you just because I know you mentioned the vocal survey, maybe enlighten the viewers? I thought it was
Sure.
very fascinating that it's student feedback, not just parent feedback, and what grade levels?
A school culture and climate survey that the Department of Education has developed and they have been implementing for the last couple of years, although it was being field tested for part of that. It's a survey that students take at the completion of their MCAS tests. And it provides that data back to districts that looks at school climate. We have not given it in the past, but we do anticipate moving forward with that, and that'll give us another benchmark to evaluate how our program, our change in programs is working.
And is that for grades 3 through 6?
Yes.
Okay.
It's because it's part of MCAS, it's only given at grades that, and it's actually not given at all those grades. I think it's just part of 5th grade.
That's what I
the vocal
thought.
survey.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 8th.
Yeah.
Is it given right at the conclusion of the test? They give a
Yes.
After
how
one,
are you,
but
how
it's
are you
not after
feeling
the
survey
ELA,
to
it's
a
usually after the
kid?
science test, which is shorter.
Yes.
But yes,
Because I was proctoring and he was not happy.
it's usually at the end of the science test.
That's optimistic.
Okay, so next on the agenda is
Quarterly.
quarterly bullying report. As per every quarter, I share with the committee what we have investigated. At the H. Olive Day in the last quarter, there were no discipline issues or reports regarding bullying behavior. Freeman Kennedy this quarter, there were 5 discipline issues, reports regarding bullying. All 5 incidences were investigated in accordance with the district bullying policy and procedures. The incidents were determined to constitute inappropriate behavior. Appropriate disciplinary action was taken, but they were not, did not meet the criteria for bullying. Question?
Great.
Next in your packet, we are part of the Bi-County Collaborative, and as members of the collaborative, I'm required to bring to the committee an update annually on their budget. So their budget right now, you have a cover letter from the treasurer, Joe Michaelbeck. The projected revenue for the collaborative for next year is $544,941. That's what they're projecting in revenue, and the expense side of the budget matches that. So they have a balanced budget at this point. The collaborative is in healthy financial shape. We don't have any concerns. Also, you can see in the attachment their projected tuition rates for the various programs that they offer. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. Just an update on the H. Olive Day roof replacement project. So the Board of Selectmen did vote to award the contract to Greenwood, who was our only qualified bidder for the roof replacement. We are in the process of selecting materials. So we have just recently chosen the colors for the gutter and the metal that we need to use, and the tile shingle. We are still waiting for Greenwood to get back to us on some potential cost savings. So if we were to replace the copper that is proposed in the design for the turrets with the high-performing metal roofing, they're investigating what they would credit us for that. So we are still continuing to look for potential areas for cost savings. Right now, we are waiting also for them to provide us with the construction schedule and timeline. They are expected to start right after they needed decisions on colors today because they're ordering materials. They're expected to begin right after school closes. We have talked with the Norfolk Police. We will be closing the entire H. Olive Day site, so that playground will not be available to the public during the summer because there's going to be a lot of roofing material, nails, things like that in the parking lot, and for safety reasons, we'll be closing that at the entrance to the H. Olive Day School. The project is expected to be substantially completed by August 6th and delivered by I believe, the 14th of August, so we're expecting it to be delivered and completed before the school year opens. There is in the bid documents a fee to Greenwood of, I believe it's $1,000 a day for late delivery. So we're hoping to hold them to the timeline. That gives us plenty of time to get the school cleaned and students in safely.
Does it get inspected?
Yes, that's all part of it. And at the end, because we're working with MSBA on that, gets inspected, they come in and recommission all the heating systems, and that gets inspected and signed off on. So,
Independent inspector or the Greenwood? Independent, like someone like from the health, not the health department,
Yeah,
from
the
building?
state, we'll have to inspect it, and then
Okay.
our building inspector in Norfolk
Okay.
will have to come inspect
He's
it.
tough. That's good.
Okay. Any other questions on the roof?
Just one peripheral question on the site closing, the entrance closing.
Yep.
There is a day camp that does pick up and drop off there, and I'm not sure if they coordinate with the school or not, but Camp Everwood drops off from, I think, the last week in June all the way through August. They usually use the parking area. I'm sure that would be fine. They just would need to know and presumably change their pickup drop-off location.
I will reach out. Do you know where they're located?
They're in Sharon.
In Sharon, okay. I will reach out and make sure that they're aware.
Okay, great.
That we're closing the site. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the last item I have for you today is my goals update. Again, as you probably remember, in the fall, in October, I proposed professional goals. They are 2-year goals, and we are at the end of year 1. So I provided you with a summary of where I am as far as each of the action steps. The first professional practice goal was to continue to co-lead the effort to develop stronger vertical articulation among special education programs between the Norfolk Public Schools and the King Philip Regional. And we hope eventually to have the publication of a pre-K to 22 special education program guide and a joint vision statement for special education programming. As far as this, we've made a lot of progress on this goal. I did work with the superintendents from the other districts to plan a joint retreat with our special education directors and team chairs. So that's complete. And we did develop that shared definition of free and appropriate education and a joint mission statement. So those items are complete. We have had quarterly steering committee meetings throughout the course of the year to develop and review progress towards our action steps. We have also worked collaboratively with the special education directors to look at the continuity of therapeutic programming across the elementary districts and to look at the vertical continuity. King Philip is launching next year a therapeutic program at their middle school. They have not had that in the past, and we worked very closely with a consultant to make sure that that program aligns well with the elementary feeder programs. We've also been working with the special education directors in developing program descriptions for their therapeutic programs, pre-K through 22. That's in progress. We intend in the fall to work on a scope and sequence for our social emotional learning program. So we're adopting a new program. Rentham has adopted responsive classroom. That's sort of a school-wide philosophy. It's not a specific skill instruction curriculum, so they're still looking at that, and Plainville's in the process. So as we're finalizing those program decisions, we're going to work on identifying common language and things that we want to ensure skills that students have from all 3 feeders going into the middle school. So let's see. We did present the joint progress report to all 4 school committees. I think that was a couple of meetings ago, and we're continuing to work together. So I think this goal is on track. We're ahead of things in some areas. The second goal I had was the district improvement goal. That was to conduct a comprehensive review of the district's social emotional learning ED bullying curricula, and including reevaluating the student code of conduct and making recommendations for improvement and program enhancements. That goal is really complete. So we, as I mentioned, we did the survey, we analyzed data trends, we looked at the best practice literature, we did a strengths and gap analysis, we gathered data from comparison districts, we shared out the findings with staff, we formed the committee, we scheduled the vendor visits, we made a final selection, and tonight we're presenting, or I presented the information to the committee for vote. We have also been working all year on revising the student code of conduct to be more proactive and reflect rather than a discipline code of conduct, to really focus on the skill building and the educational component. So that is actually complete. The draft of the new code of conduct went to each of the school councils to share with teachers for feedback. And then it also, with the site-based councils, which are comprised of teachers, and they brought them back to grade levels for feedback, and then also to the school councils, which are comprised of parents and community members. So we've gotten preliminary feedback, we've made revisions, and the full code of conduct will come to the school committee in the August meeting for review and approval. So as far as this goal, it's complete. I'll have to propose, we're ahead of schedule, so I'll propose a new goal in the fall. Our third goal, we are delaying, and I'll be focusing on next year, and that's about the communication plan and strategy for the district. Because we had so many other curriculum reviews going, I had trouble getting a core group together to work on that. And we also worked this year on refining and revising our paraprofessional evaluation program. So this goal will be the focus for next year. And then the last goal is the student learning goal, and that was to close the achievement gap between students receiving special education and the general population in the area of written language, as measured by a 5% increase in the percentage of students meeting district benchmarks in writing by the end of the academic year over the 2017-18 baseline, and an additional 5% over the next school year. So we're still collecting the data because they're finishing their benchmark assessment, so I'll have that for you at the August meeting. But as far as action steps, we have completed many of them. We worked with the Professional Development Committee and the Director of ELA to plan and offer rich professional development for staff in writing instruction, and we've done that throughout the course of the year. We are working on providing additional professional development and training for our special education staff on remedial instruction strategies. We pursued and secured additional grant funding for customized professional development provided on site to all of our grade levels. We have continued to work with the building principals to promote co-teaching between the reading specialists and the classroom teachers in the area of writing. We did have a chance to take our administrative team to Rentham to observe writing instruction in a variety of classrooms so that we could calibrate our feedback and expectations. So that was a great experience. We have been doing a professional book study at the administrative level on right now we're reading the Lucy Calkins Units of Study Writing Framework. So we've been working on that. Next year we will be taking an online graduate course as an administrative team on the text by Sarah Vello, which is on writing, high quality writing instruction. I have been working on reviewing administrators' written observations of reports for classroom teachers on writing instruction and providing feedback. We have I do have shared protocols for the administrators that we'll be rolling out next year and sharing with teacher teams to how to collaboratively look at and score student writing work. And then, again, the online course Strategies in Action, Reading and Writing Methods is scheduled for the fall.
Great.
Again, just in terms of the overall summary, at this point, I feel like we're on track, or I'm on track to complete all the goals and activities on or ahead of schedule. I will propose a new goal for goal 2 next year. And just in addition to the stated goals, there were several other significant projects that we worked on this year. As I mentioned, we revised our paraprofessional staff member evaluation process and the instruments we're using to evaluate performance. I gave you some details on that. We also worked with the town and our HR department to streamline services and share resources. And we've begun to transition some of our payroll responsibilities over to the town offices, and we're continuing to look at ways our HR departments can support and collaborate. And then we also spent a lot of time working on the each holiday roof bid, as you're well aware. Happy to take any questions, or?
I just think it's great that you work so collaboratively with the other towns and, moving up and joining your resources for KP, especially when it comes to in-house programs, because I know sending kids out and transportation, and they're really best suited, in my opinion, to be with their peers. So I think it's really great that you're reaching out, because it's not easy when you're a regional district. So I really personally appreciate that goal.
We're really pleased about that. And as I mentioned, I think at a prior school committee meeting, we also wrote a collaborative mental health grant. And
you got it.
We were awarded that grant. It's about $350,000 for next year.
And we need it.
We have been interviewing together for the wellness director, and we will be interviewing over the summer for the 2 social worker positions. So
that's great.
We're pleased about that.
Great. Any further discussion? Okay. Committee reports.
So
Kari?
King Philip, we reformed the committee. Mikey is again the chair. We did the superintendent's review. I thought Mr. Zinni had a very successful first year.
He was here tonight, so we didn't throw him out.
Yeah, exactly. They presented the findings of an air quality report that was done and a remediation plan for the summer. They also have some roof issues, but I think they don't necessarily have a plan long-term to remediate that, but that's a story for another day, I think. We also voted to accept a revised budget based on, I think we had asked for a 3.65% budget increase from the 3 towns. And Plainville and Rentham voted for 3%, but the committee felt like we could live with that and not have to cut some of the programs. So that was it.
Great. Policy Subcommittee?
There's also me, unless Jen wants to.
I didn't take notes, but
Okay.
I'll start next year.
Okay. So we have, I think, a second reading on the student fundraising. I don't think we had any changes from last time. We have a third reading for the crowdfunding. I think that we owe. Prior to the vote, I'll just give you an update on what we talked about. We reviewed the KHA public solicitation in the schools policy, the mask policy itself. We're going to add some language surrounding sort of some prohibited languages, like you can't mention alcohol. So that's in our existing policy. That's not in the mask policy, so we'll include that. We also asked some language so that whatever is put in there is subject to school committee, principal, or superintendent approval. And then we're going to cross-reference the policy KCAA. So that was that one. JCLB, which is inoculation of students. We're going to recommend that we accept the mask policy with no changes versus our own current policy, just less specificity of the list of immunizations. It's sort of a generalized reference to immunizations.
But it follows the State Department of Health.
Yes,
Their
exactly.
guidelines.
Thank you. Yeah. And then also we'll ask for an opinion on references to exceptions for homeless students. That's not currently in the mask policy, but we believe there may need to be some accommodations made there. JLCC, communicable diseases, reviewed as well. No changes recommended to the mask policy, and as far as the differences with our current policy, it's just the removal of language specific to AIDS and in addition of some privacy language. Travel regulations, JJHR, no changes at all. And then lastly, BEDH, public comment at school committees. Due to a recent decision with the town of Natick, we're going to get an opinion about some recommended language that we have, but we'll probably make some changes there depending upon that review. So, and that's kind of it. So I guess with that, we're looking for a vote on the crowdfunding third reading, GBEBD.
Do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to accept the crowdfunding. Which one is that?
GBEBD.
GBEBD.
Yeah, we didn't review it tonight.
Oh.
Yeah.
And do we have a second?
I'll second the motion to accept the crowdfunding policy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry.
Delayed aye.
Okay, we need a motion to accept the minutes from the May 21st, 2019 school committee meeting.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the May 21st meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and the next school committee meeting is scheduled for August 20th. Does that work for everybody? Yes.
Is that a Tuesday night, Paul? Tuesday?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Will that include the
the
facility tour
Yes,
too?
we
Okay.
do a facilities walkthrough prior to the
Right.
meeting, usually at 6 o'clock, so if the committee's interested in doing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want
I
to get a
may-
look at that roof. Yeah.
Excellent. We will schedule that
Yeah.
for 6 o'clock the night of the 20th.
I may
see
have
the
a
roof
conflict that
before-
night.
I mean-
I'll let you know for sure, but.
Is it your anniversary again?
No, that's the 28th. No, this is a good friend's 50th birthday. And I received plenty of advance notice about the celebration, so I don't know if school committee's going to cut it for that night.
Okay, and that's everything for tonight. Adjourn the meeting.
Great.